All right, favorite players, let's go. Got my Bruins hat on because I'm a Bruins fan at heart. Got my Easterlome Roosters jersey from the DEL. It's Casper Dogovins, number 61. Bruins and Senators and Binghamton Senators legend. Anyway, let's get on to it. Yes, this is entirely just a ripoff of what the hockey guy just posted. He posted his favorite players. I didn't watch much of the video. I was like, I'm just going to do that too. Here we are. Less of a surprise. So if you want to pause it and, I don't know, just read it and leave, like, that's fine. I'm not going to be offended. This is just for fun. I did it quick. Some teams I have more than one. Some teams it was a little more difficult. But it was pretty easy to find at least one from every team. There are plenty of players I really do like that I didn't have space to put on this. Well, let's get started. I just did it based on division standings per division. Starting off in the Metro, Carolina, Sebastian Aho, I think, is one of the better two-way centers in the league. He is so good defensively, and he still puts up points at a point-per-game ratio. If he was all offense all the time, and they didn't have to rely on him for as much defense as he plays, I don't have any question he could be a 100-point producer in the NHL. He's that talented. He's that good. He's skilled. Sebastian Aho is always a player to watch. I hate whenever a team I'm cheering for goes up against Carolina because Aho always puts up a fight. They also have Jordan Staal. They have two very good defensive centers in Carolina right now. But kind of an under-the-radar pick, Jalen Chatfield. He was having a rough time over in Vancouver, came to Carolina, played some third-line minutes. I thought he evolved and found another level to his game and was very, very reliable in his own defensive zone. And as a young defenseman, that can be a challenge for a lot of people. But I really like watching Jalen Chatfield. He's one of my favorite players on Carolina to watch. I get excited whenever he's involved in the play. Even if I'm rooting against him and their team, I do like Jalen Chatfield quite a bit. And I'm happy he's a full-time NHL player and has a home, at least for now. New Jersey, this is going back to my old days. It's Eric Holla. I loved Holla when he started his career in Minnesota. I've been following him since. He's had several destinations: Vegas, Nashville, Boston, New Jersey. I like Holla. I don't know if there's any locker room stuff with him, and I kind of want to remain oblivious to that because he's bounced around so often. But he's a solid third-line center and can play a second-line center if you need him to, as we saw in Boston last year. And he did a very good job at that. So I like Holla. Cheap contract as well. I love Eric Holla. Next up, Rangers. Keandre Miller, I'd say, is probably my favorite player on the team. I love Keandre Miller. He's always got this big smile. He's a happy dude. He plays very solid defense he's like, what is he, 22 or something? I don't have his stuff in front of me, but he's a young kid. He just got paid, rightfully so. He's got some offense to his game as well. He's a fun guy to watch. Another guy I like following and have really started to consider one of my favorite players on the Rangers is Ryan Lindgren. He came over from Boston in the Rick Nash deal, if you remember that. Rick Nash playing, what did he play, like, was it even 16 games in a Bruins uniform? But Lindgren, really, really solid defensive defenseman. Dude is tough as nails. Dude is if he needs to mix it up, if he's in that scenario, he will. Kind of an old school hockey player, but very good, very responsible in his own zone, and kind of unleashes Adam Fox. Lets Adam Fox go into the offensive zone, do some scoring. Lindgren's got it held down on that back end, so I like Lindgren. Clutterbuck, I've been following Clutterbuck for years. He was a 20-goal scorer with the Minnesota Wild. He would throw he would throw punches. Throw fights is a weird time. He also had the sweetest mustache. I'd say it's debatably the best mustache in the history of the NHL. His mustache with the Minnesota Wild, and you can't even find a good picture of his mustache at his prime. It was so good. Clutterbuck very much knows his role. Very much just one of those grinding forwards. But he had some offensive upside. I don't know. I like Clutterbuck. I really enjoy watching Cal play. Next up, who we got? The Islanders. Chad Ruhwedel. So I went to college with Chad. I didn't really know him that much. or that well. Very nice guy. We only had like 2,000 people on campus or so when we went to school at the same time. He is such a nice guy, just a genuine human being. And of every player on our school hockey team, he would be one of my last picks to actually make the NHL. But he did, and he's been in Pittsburgh for years. Third line role, sometimes maybe a depth defenseman. Making, I don't think he's ever hit $1 million in the salary, but just a nice, reliable defensive defenseman. And I don't know, a little personal ties there, you know. Next up, Darcy Kemper, another guy. Any team he's on, he's pretty much my favorite player on that team. Dude's got an electrifying smile. I'm so glad he found his game in Arizona. It was in Minnesota. He was brought up as a young guy, had some struggles, especially in the playoffs when he was called upon. Went to Arizona, found his game, and hasn't looked back. This dude, all the best to him. I love watching Darcy Kemper. I think he's one of the better and probably more underrated goalies in the league. Obviously, that can be up for debate if you wanted to, but for the purpose of this video, big fan of Darcy Kemper, my favorite Washington Capitals player. Philly, two guys really for kind of two different reasons. Cam York, I really like Cam York's game when he came into the league. He showed flashes that he can be a pretty solid defenseman in the NHL. He grows each year. I think he just got a new contract at some point recently. Cam York's a lot of fun to watch. Just watching him through every shift, skating up and down the ice. Great young player. Just one of those fun to watch guys I enjoy. Delorier also, old school enforcer. He is such a nice, genuine guy. I understand I'm a Boston fan, and the Philadelphia Flyers are a rival of the Boston Bruins. Delorier is probably going to fight Milan Lucic at some point this year, and I will be rooting for Milan Lucic. But Delorier is one of the nicest guys one of the nicest guys in the NHL, and it's I don't know, it's just like you don't expect that. You see a lot of the physical play, those huge booming hits, the punches thrown. I don't know. I just love enforcers that are genuinely nice human beings. And enforcers aren't really in the league anymore. Delorier's found a home for the next 3 or 4 years. 3 years. I think the 4-year contract was signed last year. Columbus Blue Jackets. I got Juracek. I watched every single game Juracek played in the NHL. This dude is going to be good. He is good. He is fun to watch. But most of all, this dude is having fun on the ice. He enjoys the game of hockey. You can see with some players it's a job when they're on the ice. You can see with some players it's more about not letting the team down than it is enjoying themselves. Juracek is just having the time of his life, and he's going to be a solid top-pairing defenseman in the near future. It would kind of surprise me if he didn't make the NHL roster out of training camp. Columbus has a lot of blue line depth this season, so we'll see if there's a spot for him. But I'd love to see this guy in the NHL as soon as possible. I'm a big fan of his game. He's going to be good. Boston, come at me with the hate. It's Brad Marchand. I don't care. Once you get past Marchand and some of the dirty hits, like the hate's warranted, some of them it's more based on reputation. The hate's more based on reputation than it is the actual hit, because there are some comparable plays throughout the NHL that won't even be called or a penalty, but because Brad Marchand is Brad Marchand, he'll get a call. He might even get a suspension or a fine as a result. But when it comes down to it, Marchand is one of the better, if not, I don't want to say one of the best, but he's excellent defensively. I haven't really done a whole analysis of who the best defensive wingers are in the NHL, but Marchand is up there. Marchand's defensive play is excellent. He can be a point per game plus kind of guy. He's aging. He's in his 30s, and he's still growing as a player. He seems to get better every year. Plus, he's just a heart and soul guy, right? He is such a leader in the Bruins locker room and organization and on the ice. So it's, as a Bruins fan, I love Marchand. I'm sure not many of you like Marchand, but that's okay. I get it. but I like Marchand. Toronto, a couple newbies. Ryan Reeves, kind of the same reasons for Nick Delorier, why I picked Nick Delorier. Reeves is one of those, he's just a happy locker room guy. He really brings a lot of energy and positivity to any locker room he's in. Any fan base that has Ryan Reeves on their team ends up really loving Ryan Reeves at the end of the day. He's not a guy who's going to score you a lot of points. He'll drop the gloves when you need him to. But yeah, I don't know. He's just one of those happy guys. Tyler Bertuzzi too. I'm excited to see what he can do on that first line in Toronto. The dude is talented. I'm willing to bet, kind of like Boston, he'll take a few games to really get used to the system, get used to his new line mates. Tyler Bertuzzi, some grit to his game, more of a power forward style of play. Can put the puck in the net. Is a pretty elusive passer. I think his passing's pretty underrated. Can play defense, can be physical, can be gritty, can kind of be that pest if you need him to. That's the complete player right there. So we'll see how he does, but I think he's going to put up some great numbers this year. If he plays with Marner and Matthews, he's going to get a big contract next year, and that's when we're going to have the debate whether his contract's too high or if he's compensated appropriately. But this year in Toronto for, what is he, $5 million a year, I think, for this 1 year, I think is a pretty good price for what Bertuzzi can bring, especially to a team looking to get over that hump like Toronto. I don't hate the pickup on Toronto's behalf. I do as a Bruins fan, but in general, I do like Tyler Bertuzzi a lot. I'm wishing him nothing but success there. Tampa is one of the tougher teams. There are a lot of guys I really like on that team. Notably like Stamkos, Hedman, Braden Point. I don't know. Some of the guys I'm trying to, that come to mind are not on the team anymore. Perbix, solid player. But I got Kucherov. Kucherov is an absolute blast to watch. And his post-game interviews, they they could get a little wild sometimes. Not all the time. He's usually pretty reserved, pretty like, I don't want to talk to you, reporter. But there are times where he'll come out of his shell a bit, and it's a little fun to watch. But on the ice, this dude is an absolute machine. One of the best passers in the entire NHL. Oh, and the dude can score, too. I really love watching Kucherov play. I hope his injuries kind of slow down. He doesn't get hurt as much. He spends more time on the ice than he does in the press box. But I like watching Kucherov. This next one, Sam Bennett for the Florida Panthers. Bruins fans, I'm sorry. I really like Sam Bennett's play. I don't. I wouldn't put him in the elite category. A top six forward, sure. But this dude is gritty. He's old school, and I like that. He's finishing each check. He's agitating the goaltender of the other team. Like, he is an absolute pest, but it works. It's easy to be a pest, but it's hard to be one of those pests that really gets under the other team's skin and really influences the game through these extracurricular antics. Sam Bennett is really good at that, kind of like Brad Marchand is, to be honest. Sam Bennett, no hate to Sam Bennett. I think the Boston Panthers first round matchup, Sam Bennett was a key piece as to why Florida won that series. I thought he did a great job in that series. I do. I know a lot of Bruins fans will disagree with me and think he was just a dirty player the whole time. I don't necessarily think he was dirty. I thought he played a very good and strategic game, and it worked. And it worked to his advantage and his team's advantage. So I really like Sam Bennett. I like his game. I don't like when my team plays against Sam Bennett, but just in general, from a neutral perspective, big fan of Sam Bennett. Hope he keeps it up. Hope he keeps, his offensive numbers up. Buffalo, though, I got two big ones, and they're two very different players. Alex Tuch, dude is Buffalo. Dude is more than a point-per-game player, a heart and soul guy. I hope he is the next captain of the Buffalo Sabres. Please have Alex Tuch as the next captain of the Buffalo Sabres. Love Alex Tuch. Can't say enough good things about him. He's just a nice guy, too. Very genuine. Next, the other guy I got is Samuelsson. I love his defensive play. I think his defensive play is very underrated. He covers a lot for whoever his defensive partner is. I can't say enough about Samuelsson's defensive game. It raised his contract, raised eyebrows when it was signed, but honestly, I think he's probably worth a little more than what his contract is. I think it's around 4.125 or something like that. I really like Samuelson in his game though. And that's a great piece for Buffalo, especially a team that needs to focus more on defense. Samuelson is a great piece to have. Ottawa, it's Shabbat. Shabbat, wherever he is on the ice, he is a blast to watch. He is so good. I don't know. I don't know how he doesn't get more Norris votes. Probably the offensive numbers. But this dude is such a good two-way defenseman. He is one of the best defensive defensemen in his own zone, and he puts up points. I love watching Thomas Chabot. He is a blast. There's some other guys on this team that are fun to watch, like Stutzla. Shane Pinto was fun to watch for a bit. Batherson in his offensive zone. Batherson's defense, though, not so fun to watch. But my favorite player on Ottawa is Chabot. I love Chabot. Detroit, for me, was hard. I don't love any of their players. Probably my favorite player is Moritz Seider. He's still he's very young, a young kid. Can play the body with anyone in the league. Will throw checks, throw hits. He's pretty good in his own zone considering his age. There are some young defensemen who are very good and sound defensively, but it's not common. And in fact, it's pretty uncommon. But Seider is one of them who's pretty good in his own zone. Had a bit of a setback year, especially in his own zone, especially because the whole offense kind of wasn't really where it was in his rookie year. I'm sure he'll have a bounce back year this year. I think Moritz Seider is going to have a very good bounce back year. I think he'll repeat, if not exceed, his rookie year numbers, stats, and defensive play. I really like Seider. I think he's good. Montreal. So I hate to say it, but I really like Nick Suzuki. I like him a lot. He's a great player. He understands the rivalries and when you play hard and when to be a bit of a pest, but he's not a pest. He went at it with Jeremy Swayman during one of the Bruins' backup goaltender, backup this past year, really 1A, 1B. But Nick Suzuki went at it with Jeremy Swayman, I don't know, a few times throughout a period. At the end of the period, they came together. They showed respect for each other, and they both moved on. They were both getting chippy. They were both getting a little sassy with each other. But Suzuki's just one of those stand-up guys. He understands the rivalry of Boston-Montreal. He understands his role as the captain of the Montreal Canadiens. But he's a very respectful guy. He has a lot of respect for any team he's playing, any player he's playing against. And that's fantastic. That's kind of what Boston had with Bergeron, and Montreal's getting that with Suzuki. Two very different players with different skill sets, but understanding that leadership role and respect for your rival is it's one of those things a lot of people struggle with. So all the respect to Nick Suzuki. Really like him a lot. Hope he loses every game. Great dude, though. Other one is Sam Montembeault. Man, Sam Montembeault was thrown into the league, right? Had some awful stats. Had some awful stats for more than 1 year, several years. Still a young kid, really starting to grow into that starting goaltender role. His game has evolved so much since the day he started in the NHL to now. This dude, I don't know. I think he's a solid 1A, 1B on any team in the NHL at this point. Sam Montembeault, I know he's had a lot of criticism, especially playing in a market like Montreal, where there's a lot of focus on the Canadiens and the players and the play. Even during the rough times, there's still a huge spotlight on every single player, especially the goaltender, especially trying to fill Carey Price's shoes. Sam Montembeault, I can't say enough positive things about him. I hope he's Swiss cheese when the Bruins play him. I hope he's a sieve and every single shot that in that game for the Bruins goes in the net. But Sam Montembeault, all the respect. What a guy. Tough position to be thrown in, and really tough position to be thrown in. I think he's done a great job with the pressure and the learnings and kind of everything thrown at him. I can't say enough good things about these two guys. Much respect for these two Montreal Canadian players. There are a few other Canadian. I really don't hate the Canadians team. I want to so bad, but I really don't. This video is getting pretty long. Let's start banging it out. Colorado, it's Arturi Lehkonen. Came over from, what was it, Montreal. Dude just clicked. He's putting pucks in the net. He's fun to watch. He is fun to watch. Dallas, Jason Robertson, underrated defensively. I think he's a pretty solid defensive player. In being all honest, he puts up points like nobody's business, but his defensive play is pretty solid. I can't hate on Robertson or any facet of his game. Hagenpää, one of the better defensive defensemen. I really love Hagenpää's game. He's physical. He gets gritty. He's pretty responsible in his own defensive zone. I would take Hagenpää on any team I cheer for any day. There's no question about that. I love Hagenpää's game. Kind of a theme. A lot of these players, not a lot of them, but some of them are very old school style players. I like the old school hockey. I do. I'm sorry. But that's okay. Minnesota, Eriksson Ek, probably the most underrated two-way center in the entire game today. There are some others, but I don't know. I don't know how underrated Danault is. Danault's pretty well known. He's in LA. He was in Montreal. Very, very good defensive game. Has pretty solid offensive stats. Good team player. Can be a little gritty. Eriksson Ek, man, his defensive game is, I'd say it's just as good. And you can make that comparison. I'm partial to saying Eriksson Ek's defensive game might be a little better than Danault, but that's a debate we can have some other time. And I haven't looked at the stats compared to the players. I really like Eriksson Ek. You park him in front of the net, the puck will go in the net. Eriksson Ek is masterful in front of the net, especially on that power play. Love Eriksson Ek, love his game, and just a happy guy. Tough, gritty, angry on the ice, happy when you're interviewing him, happy, just always smiling. Just such a genuinely nice guy. Brodin, I'm just gonna say it. Brodin, most underrated defenseman in the entire league. And I'd probably say top 3 defensive defenseman in the entire league. The amount that Brodin does on that blue line it's just absurd. Him paired with Matt Dumba, and Matt Dumba is great. Matt Dumba usually lets Unleashed to go into the offensive zone. Brodin will save at least a goal every game, and that doesn't show up even in the advanced stats. Go ahead and look him up. I've looked him up. Brodin's play is just out of this world in his own zone. Love Brodin. So fun to watch. Just a genuine, nice, quiet guy. Jonas Brodin, chef's kiss. Winnipeg, Connor Hellebuck. Again, one of those guys I went to school with. I'm not going to discuss my school life too much right now, but Hellebuck, Rue Weedle. Hellebuck we knew was good in college. We didn't know he was going to be a Vezina caliber NHL goaltender at the time, which was cool, especially because he succeeded. Who was it? Carter Hutton. Yeah, Hamilton had the job. Carter Hutton took the job from Hamilton, and then Hellebuck took the job from Carter Hutton. Hutton, we knew would be an NHL goalie at the time. Hutton was fantastic, but Hellebuck took the job from him, which was crazy. Love Connor Hellebuck. I'm sorry, Jets fans, if he gets traded or is gone. There's other guys on the Jets. I like the Jets. There's some players I don't like, but there's some players I like. So, but for now, it's Connor Hellebuck, just because of that past connection. Nashville, Gustav Nyquist. Been following him since he was in the University of Maine. This dude is just fun to watch. He'll play any role you put him in, and he's good at it. Big fan of Gustav Nyquist. Jeremy Lauzon, same. Started with the Bruins. Love his game. Can be physical. Can be gritty. I think is pretty underrated defensively. He has, still. I guess he's kind of getting older, but still working on the defensive aspect of his game. But it's pretty solid where it is. And I definitely say he's one of the better third line pairing defensemen in the entire NHL. Probably a top 4 guy. It depends on the team. You put him on a team like Colorado, he's probably still in that third pairing. But love Jeremy Lauzon, love his game. St. Louis was really hard, really hard. I got Hofer. I like Hofer. I hope he takes that starting role and runs with it. I hope he gets paid when his contract is up. I think it's up at the end of this year. Go Hofer. The Blues need reliability in net. They need less of a distraction of what they currently have. They need a lot of other pieces as well, but I think Hofer is definitely the start of that. Love Hofer, big fan of him. Hope he just thrives in the role this year. Hope he plays well, takes that starting job away from Binnington. Hey man, no hate to Hofer. Arizona, this is tough. I like a lot of the players in Arizona. Honorable mention to Vejmelka. Jumbling my letters there. Really like Vejmelka, like his game. But Matias Maccelli is just a blast to watch. He's just fun. This kid is going to be good. He's going to be good for a long time. So no hate to Maccelli. Who else we got? Chicago, Nick Foligno, the former Blue Jackets captain. Just such a genuinely nice guy. Will drop the gloves in any situation. Really a solid, one of the better leaders in the NHL. Period. Like, that's it. Like, Nick Foligno is just a great guy. Vegas, Alec Martinez. Dude he doesn't get paid like he's underrated, but you never hear his name. You never really hear about him, at least outside of the Vegas market. Dude is a shot-blocking machine. He sacrifices the body like no one else. I love Alec Martinez. I love his game. Big fan. Edmonton, Matthias Ekholm. Dude is an anchor on that blue line. He is fun to watch. He is physical. I don't know. He's just definitely, like, you can make a case for Connor McDavid. Love Connor McDavid. There are a few guys on this team I really love, but Matthias Ekholm, man, he was my favorite player in Nashville. He's my favorite player now in Edmonton. Like, this dude is great. I don't think he really gets the respect he deserves. He's that good. But he's a nice guy too. He provides a lot of leadership. Really like Ekholm. Arvidsson, also going back to his Nashville days. One of those guys you don't really hear much about, but puts up 30 goals pretty regularly. Arvidsson, I mean, dude sometimes plays like a power forward. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know how to describe Arvidsson's game. It's unique. It's fun to watch. It works. He's effective. Kings. There are a lot of players on the Kings too. I could have picked for this. Kopitar, Doughty. John Quick isn't on the Kings anymore. I think he's in New York. There are a bunch of players in LA that I really do like, but Arvidsson, I think, is just a little underrated, and he's fun. He's fun to watch. Really like Arvidsson. Like his play. Wouldn't be mad if he went to a team I cheered for. Seattle was tough too. I like a lot of the Seattle players. I think it's Matty Beniers though. I watched a lot of games their first year. I watched a good amount of their games this past year. Matty Beniers is, for his age and the defensive responsibility he has in his game, it's outstanding. Dude plays like he's in his 30. His defensive play is actually fantastic. And he puts up points like no one else's business. This dude is going to be a superstar if you wouldn't consider him one already. And he's just a nice guy. He's from Massachusetts. I'm from Massachusetts. I don't remember where. He's probably from Hingham or something. Good kid, though. Fun to watch. Love his beard. Hope he never shaves his beard. Calgary. When I think of Calgary, I think of Mikael Backlund. Backlund has been on that team since I was in high school, and I'm now in my early 30s. So he's been there forever. Very consistent. Actually had a career year in points this year. What do you have, 56? Pretty consistent player. I hope he retires with Calgary. I don't know if it'll actually happen. I hope they retire his number. I don't think it'll happen, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. But when I think of Calgary, I think of Backlund. Next up, Vancouver. Love Soucy's game on that blue line. Love Soucy's game. I can't say, I don't know. I love watching Soucy play. I think he's underrated when he was in Minnesota. I don't know. Big fan of Soucy. I'm glad he's doing well. Seattle, it still blows my mind he's on Vancouver. Just happened. We'll see how it goes. But I think he adds a lot of defense to that blue line. That blue line really needs help on defense, and he is the guy. Love Susie. I think he'll contribute quite a bit of the intangibles to that defensive core that Vancouver has. I do like Ilya Mikheyev too. I did really like his game in Toronto. I know his contract in Vancouver is a little high. He's had some injury issues, but he is a fun kid to watch. I hope he just goes off. He's capable of being a consistent 20 goal scorer. My phone keeps going off, so I'm sorry if I keep looking. I'm gonna put that over there. It's like work emails, and I finished working an hour and a half ago, so I don't know. But love Mikheyev. I hope he comes back strong this season. I hope he puts up 30 goals, proves all the haters wrong for that contract. I don't know if that'll happen. I don't know if he'll ever live up to that contract, but I'm rooting for the kid. He's fun to watch. Nico Sturm on San Jose. Love Nico Sturm. Love him. There's a lot of guys on San Jose I really like. Hurdle, Kraus, not Kraus. Kraus is in Arizona. Couture. There's a bunch of guys in San Jose that I really do like. Nico Sturm is out. He's just out of this world. He is super consistent. There is an offensive upside to his game, but he's never really put in those offensive issues because he is so good defensively. He is a solid bottom six center, a really, really good depth center. And if he's your fourth line center guy, you're not doing too bad as a team, unless you have holes on the wings in your defense and your goaltending. Then you're San Jose. I do like Kaapo Kähkönen too. Kind of a struggle. He's also playing behind kind of a brutal blue line. And so all the goaltenders in San Jose are struggling quite a bit. But Kaapo Kähkönen, I think, has got a lot of potential. I think if he was placed in the right team on the right scenario, he would be one of the better goaltenders in the league. Like if he's one of those guys that went to Colorado, for example, I think he would thrive there, just as Georgiev has, just as Kemper did, just as Francouz did. I do like Kähkönen quite a bit. I think this is last year in the NHL, honestly. I think he goes to Europe, plays in a league there somewhere. But finishing up this list, we're going back to the Florida Panthers days with Racco Gudas. He's now in Anaheim. He's a member of the Anaheim Ducks. I love Racco Gudas in his game. He is gritty. He is physical. He is old school. He is a pest when he needs to be. He is a strong guy. He is fun to watch. Love Racco Gudas. Man, he was so annoying. He was so annoying playing the Bruins this past playoff series as a Florida Panthers player. He would just be in his own defensive zone, like sitting on Brad Marchand while the play continues for the next 30 seconds. But hey, it's old school. Love him. Love the hits he throws. I hate that he helped knock out my team from the playoffs during a historic season, but I can't throw any hate at Racco Gudas or Sam Bennett. I think both of them were massive pieces to Florida getting that first round win and making a run in the playoffs in general. Even making the playoffs. I really like both these players, but Racco Gudas, I didn't even have to look at Anaheim's roster. It was just, he is the guy. There are some guys in Anaheim I like. I respect Cam Fowler, John Gibson. I really like John Gibson. Henrique has been there forever. This might be the year he gets traded, but I do like Henrique quite a bit. There's a lot of players in Anaheim I like. A lot of the players I didn't like have moved on. So, yeah, I like Anaheim. But I love Racco Gudas. So, those are the players. This is turning into a long video. If you stuck it out for this long, hats off to you, because I wouldn't have. So, I appreciate you so much. No, really. So let me know who your favorite players were. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Obviously, this is really just opinion, and this is really just fun. But there's a lot of players up here, and a lot of different, all over the spectrum. Got a guy in the AHL. Got some superstars on the board. Got a guy entering a second year in Beniers. You got Sebastian Aho, which just signed an extension for just under $10 million. You got some middle of the road guys, Holla. You got some depth guys, Chad Ruhwedel. Some grinders, Clutterbuck. Some leaders in Chicago. So again, some rookies. It's kind of all over the board. Every player kind of has their own little story in relation to me and why I like them. And I ain't going into too much depth here, but I'm not going to because we're just about 35 minutes. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Talk to you again soon, all right?